Promises of beauty can never ever fail. We're living in the future, cushioned from all evil. Now we can finally see why it's no mystery. Our seven deities, she is the chosen. Because her promises live on eternally. And all those promises she'll keep faithfully.
When first established, the calendar of Estolia had 4 90-day periods, like Anatolia, and a 5-day interregnum at the time of the harvest. After harvest, the first period was called resting, the time after the harvest. Waiting was the winter, when gravid livestock rounded out, and the world itself would be waiting for the glorious promise of the period of regrowth, called emergence. Finally, just before harvest, the final period was fulfillment. Each period was linked to the natural cycles of an agrarian society. History of Estolia. Meredith Zakarian.
Shania was already in bed when Liarana slipped next to her.
What is it, Shania?
You have been acting my servant. I should be serving you.
Impulsively, Liarana hugged her.
Do you not understand the change in your fortunes, Shania?
One of the 2 identical men plans to take me to his bed.
He is quite entranced by your exotic beauty, but I do not sense that he or his brother wish to do anything harmful to us.
I could be his lover,
Shania mused.
but I believe I would disembowel any woman who touched him. As a prince, he no doubt has some princess already betrothed to him.
Liarana said.
During our captivity, I had 2 weeks to think about the situation we were in. How I wished, with all my heart, that father was still alive to save us. We would be bartered and traded like livestock in the markets until some unkempt man with black creases in his teeth took our virtue, grunting as he planted his vile seed within us. Now we have the most incredibly handsome men looking at us with desire.
Antiochus would not defile you.
Shania said with certainty. Liarana shrugged casually. With her father dead, and with the estate forbidden to go to female offspring, her future fortunes were non-existent. Even their attempt to travel to a distant relative in hopes of at least having a place to live had gone awry when their ship was overtaken by pirates, who then sold them to the slave traders. No, nothing was certain, except the desire she saw emanating from both men.
Promises of beauty can never ever fail.
Rialto looked from his brother to his twin nephews with pride. Together they were the 4 most powerful men in the nation. There was always something extraordinary about the power that filled the surroundings when the Strayaran gathered together in one location. This night was no exception, but there was also the sense that something critical would be decided.
On the 47th day of emergence, the 2 of you were born just a few heartbeats apart.
Rialto said to the 2 men.
I was honored to be at your birth.
He looked at Antiochus.
The midwife placed you in my arms the moment you were born. I was most enthralled to realize, moments later, that I not only witnessed the birth of our next sovereign, but was also witnessing the birth of my own successor.
He paused, swallowing the emotions that were thick in his throat.
I thought at the time that I would never feel as special as I did at that moment. I did not know that the 2 of you would be true gifts from deity to Estolia. Your love for one another is more than most people experience, even for their Kaylee. Your relationships with Liarana and Shania will be richer, by comparison, than anyone has ever experienced. Estolia is blessed to have the 2 of you in it.
Are we not close to the anniversary of our birth?
Tremaine asked. Rialto gave Tremaine that familiar look of disbelief.
You are telling me you do not know the answer to this question?
Tremaine blushed, glancing briefly at his brother before saying,
I believe we are finishing the 45th day of emergence. Thus, tomorrow will be our last day prior to our birth anniversary.
Rialto smiled and nodded in confirmation.
You are right. We will have a celebration tomorrow evening.
She'll keep faithfully.
Liarana and Shania discovered there were enough individuals in the palace who spoke Palmyran and Catalese to be understood. Liarana had a gift for language that Shania did not. She did most of the interpreting since the royal family could, with varying degrees of aptitude, speak Palmyran. In the early afternoon of that first day, Shania was introduced properly to Anadora, the woman who treated her ankles. It struck her forcefully that she had been casually speaking with her when she was the queen. She could feel the uncomfortable heat of a blush on her face, and the sick sensation that always visited her when she made some grave mistake.
What is it?
Asked Tremaine, the twin who continued to enthrall her and incite her imagination.
Your mother is the queen. I have not treated her with the proper respect.
In some nations, a slave having the temerity to address a queen might be put to death. Liarana translated his words.
Tremaine says that here in Estolia, being royalty is more of a service and sacrifice than a privilege. You honor her most by not treating her like she is special.
Shania looked away, feeling uncomfortable still. His hand under her chin brought her eyes back to his.
Tell me what disturbs you.
He commanded.
I am only a slave,
she said. His hand left her chin, and he got to his feet. She expected him to leave. When he urged her to her feet, she wondered if he would ask her to leave instead. What she did not expect was for him to pull her up tight to his body, one hand on her waist, one on her face. Suddenly the communication difficulties between them disappeared. It felt like they were exchanging information at the level of the soul.
In Estolia there are no slaves. You are no longer a slave.
She looked up at him. She wanted to believe what he was saying to her. His lips covering hers eliminated thought entirely. When he stepped away from her, she sank back to the seat she'd abandoned such a short time ago.
We will be having a celebration this evening,
Anadora said in Palmyran.
Will you and Liarana honor us with your presence?
Shania bowed in agreement.
We would be delighted to attend.
Before she could even think about apparel, Anadora added.
I have always wanted daughters. It would bring me great joy if I could provide you with some gowns.
Liarana's face lit up with a smile.
That would be delightful.
Consolation never yields. Perturbation, fertile fields. Intuition is what she sells. Divination, future foretells. Promises of beauty, they never ever fail. We're living in the future, cushioned from all evil. Now we can finally see why it's no mystery. Ourselves